all your New York fan can also come to the live show.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Hello, everyone. Long time no see. I mean, I
Good
actually
night.
just live streamed yesterday. But today we
Yeah,
have
I
a
know.
special guest from Herd, also ex Doom Analytics. Andrew, promote to your New York fan right now.
Oh my gosh, that's a
Sorry,
different that's a different promotion. Yeah.
I yeah, I feel like we should use the gender stereotypes or whatever to promote or to uplift the variety of the show a little bit. Because to be honest, every single day, every morning I wake up, there's something on the timeline about girls and boys. I'm like, come
That's
on, dude. We are only here in the crypto space for earning money together. Why are you trying to split the gender? But it's okay. Okay, if you want to split the gender, let's split the gender.
Mm.
So today we are asking the two homes because both of their last names home to show to their
Yeah.
girlfriend fans. Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, I'm making
God.
I'm making this joke because every single time when we post the Twitter the live stream, right? And then uh I tag Alvin tagged me in the live stream tweet, and then I see all the replies on his live stream, and there's always comment about, "Oh, Alvin is so handsome, 帅哥, 帅哥." So that's why now I start to tease Alvin because people now pay more attention to the looks of Alvin than his
Yeah.
like sauce and brain, which
I
I'm
wish we can
happy because
receive more creative feedbacks, not only this kind of.
I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad, Albert. I think you should totally utilize your face, you know.
Yeah, thank
So
you guys. Thank you guys.
Andrew, where's your girlfriend face? Come on.
that's not my audience. I don't think has
What
as many
okay,
women.
so before we talk about who is your audience, maybe you can give the audience a quick intro of who you are, what you're good at, and why you're here today.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Thank you both for having me. Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Herd. We started the company last year, almost exactly a year ago now.
Do you
Uh,
have the exact date? Exact date, exact
November
date.
November 1st was like the
Birthday.
incorporation.
Most important.
Yeah,
Oh
November
wow.
1st was the incorporation date. So it's been a
Okay.
year. Yeah, my co-founder and I celebrated our anniversary. Romantic dinner and all of that. So
Okay.
it's been a
So
good
good.
year.
I well, I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions, but go on.
It wasn't wrong. It wasn't romantic. But yeah, so we actually both worked at Dune Analytics before we created Herd. So we were at Dune Analytics for 2-3 years, really working on just like composable data, right? Like it's like you have all this data that's on the blockchain and it's like open and transparent, but it's actually really hard to work with that data. And most people like they're like, oh yeah, I can analyze like swaps or something because there's like a nicely abstracted dex trades table on Dune. But if you had someone like go and figure out how that data is like transformed from like the raw events emitted, that's actually very hard to do.
Yes.
There's always a lot of arguments on metrics, because the like simple things like TVL can mean very different things for different protocols.
Yes.
My
Uh,
favorite topic.
yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, so a lot of my last 3 years was doing that across Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Solana. So I feel like I would probably say I'm probably one of the few people who understand those three ecosystems at both like a technical and cultural level. And I think they're all very special. And there's things that are good and bad about all of them. Even though Herd is only building on Ethereum, but that's just because we think that our product only really makes sense in the EVM. It's not because we don't believe in like Solana or Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I promise I'm not a maxi. um, but yeah, Herd just like quick like 2 sentence on it is basically trying to be kind of like Zapier or like N8N for crypto. Of like you have all these protocols that users have to transact across that are deploying new versions or new contracts all the time. And a lot of like institutions or businesses today are like clicking through each app one by one when they need to go and move like funds around. And if you're doing that every like month or every 2 weeks, the app's always changing. The protocols are always changing. It doesn't make sense to try to run your business and like operate in DeFi and try to jump through all these different apps.
True.
And, like, I mean, you guys understand this, where it's like, okay,
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
waiting for your product, Andrew. You know that.
yes. So yeah, we've done an early release of it. We're still iterating. But yeah, you can think of it as like if Zapier and Dune kind of had a baby for executing on chain, where everyone will be able to share their different workflows for everything from like creating vaults to operating vaults to doing mev bots and all of these. Since with between crypto and AI, I think that's one of the most interesting opportunities to go after.
Yeah.
So that's what we're building at Herd. We're just a small team of 5 people, and yeah, if anyone hates how they have to execute across DeFi today, you can hit me up.
Okay, we charge you $5,000.
There we go. Yeah. Done here. I'll send you the transfer.
Here's our wallet address. Okay?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. On Ethereum.
Yes.
Anyways, that's a joke. But you just unloaded so much information. I have so many questions. But and this is my favorite topic because this is right in the IT. This is very relevant to what I'm building as Sprout. This is also my whole background of like data science, and this is also what we have been doing every day for all the like data transformation, for assessing the DeFi yields. But before we get into all those technical details, okay, so you mentioned you understand the culture across the 3 different ecosystems very, very well. So let's do some fun, right? First of all, use 1 to 2 sentences to describe the culture for each of the ecosystem. And second part of the question is, who do you align with the culture most?
Well, second question's easy.
I love this problem. At least love this question.
Yeah, I definitely align with Ethereum culture the most. But the difference is it really just there's a simple way of separating them, and that normally comes from how standards are created, right? So if we think about, for example, like a vault standard, right? On Ethereum, if someone wants to create a standard that's shared between protocols, you go through like the ERC process, right? The teams will all work together, more or less, obviously still competitive factors, to have like an ERC such as ERC 4626, which is a vault standard that anyone can now deploy a contract that uses that interface. And the interface just means it supports a specific set of functions and events. It can support more functions and events, and those functions could be defined in different ways, but it has to have like a deposit function, right? So on Ethereum, you have teams that work together to find this interface standard, and then different teams will go and deploy different versions of it and try to compete to basically be the best version of that standard. On Bitcoin, you don't have the concept of smart contracts. On Bitcoin, all you have is opcodes, right? So when I send a Bitcoin transaction, I can attach a list of opcodes, and opcodes are basically just low-level functions that normally you could put in a contract, but again, Bitcoin doesn't have contracts, so you basically just put it in the signature of your transaction. And the ordering of those opcodes can be a standard, right? So like multi-sigs on Bitcoin follow a specific like 5 or 6 opcode signature. Ordinals followed a specific signature, but there's no rule.
You distracted. One sentence for each culture, but continue.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Explanation.
Yeah. So like basically, like Ethereum is focused on like, collaborate around this shared interface. Everyone builds on it. Happy. Bitcoin is privacy and
happy.
Bitcoin's like privacy and like user control focused. So it's like they never want to interact with another person's program. So they're more comfortable designing everything so that it fits inside of each single transaction, which means the users ultimately have the most control over how they express logic. Solana goes all the way on the other side of like a lot of the times, and people might not agree with me on this, but like the foundation will like work with a specific company to create a new standard, whether that's like staking, whether that's like single validator staking, helping specifically Sanctum go to market, like build their contracts and go to market with that, and then they become the standard like factory for single validator staking, and like no one else is going to deploy the factory for creating a single validator stake, right? Which is different
Do you have
again.
a dog?
Ethereum.
Andrew, do you have a
I
dog?
do. Oh, can you? Is her squeaking loud?
Yes.
Oh
Can
no!
you show your dog quickly? Hi. Is it him or her?
It's a her. She's 12 years old.
Oh, hi.
I
What's her
adopted
name?
her. I adopted her in college.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry
12
for
years
our
old, and she
audience.
still
This
squeaks.
is very
Yeah,
random because
is it? Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know the squeaking.
but she was
that loud.
squeaking so hard. I was like, you must have a dog. But this is the charm of live stream. It's like literally we can be interrupted by everything.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like, okay, continue. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like,
so
is there a
Solana
way-
will build for a random company just for a new standard. That's random.
Yeah, so it's like Solana will like basically partner like a soft partnership with like one or two companies whenever they want to like really push a new standard out, and that leads to like a much better go to market. So it's like a lot more commercial. It's kind of like it's kind of like a VC investing in a specific startup and pushing them to win. And so that's why like when you look on Solana for a bunch of different standards, whether that's like NFTs, single validator staking, like domain names, etc., it's like, oh, it's a single company who like owns that program, right? Instead of like redeploying the same program many times. So if a standard is decided, everyone has to follow it. They can't really deploy a new one because it's very hard to get adoption for.
Yeah.
So obviously that has a much faster go to market than Bitcoin or Ethereum. And like they're able to get adoption much faster. But then like a year or so after launching, now you have a lot more competition of like people want this to be like an open standard that, you know, you don't charge the fees on, right? Because on Ethereum, no one's charging you for using the ERC 4626 vault.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different debates there on what's best. There's balances. I like Ethereum the most because it leans the most into composability of like data and functionality. And there's not really just like a single entity owning things. Again, some people in Solana will disagree with me for this. And there's a lot of...
It's fine. A lot of people come debate us.
Yeah, I had the fun job of being in the middle of all three communities where every time I posted about one, people would like shit on me for being a maxi. I'm like, no, I'm literally posting about all three.
Where do you usually post? Just Twitter, or you post somewhere else?
I mainly post on Twitter and then my Substack.
I need to follow your Substack. Subscribe.
Yeah, all my longer form writing is on Substack because like no one reads long form anymore on Twitter.
It's very long, to be honest, Andrew. Like last time,
it used to be longer. It used to be longer. The one I just wrote was like, I think it was 3,000 words. Normally it's like I write up to like 7,000. Okay,
let me show Andrew. Okay, Andrew is a good friend, and let me show him. Like first of all, let me post his longer form. This is one of his most recent article about unwrapping DeFi and then talking about the tokens, pools, and vaults. This is very relevant. So I actually bookmark it and I actually read through everything, even though it's very long, but I still recommend any of our audience who is technical, who really wanted to understand the difference between the different vaults, as well as like how do you distinguish good vaults versus bad vaults? Like definitely read it, right? I shared in our comment chat. And I think like the order of our show today probably is like, Andrew, you can walk us through quickly about the core concepts of this article, and then we can live demo the audience some of the queries they can do. And then I definitely want to dig into a little bit more on the nitty-gritty details of, you know, like when you integrate Solana vaults, when you integrate Ethereum vaults, right? What's the difference? Like, because there's different level of maintenance, right? And how do you usually make your decision, say, oh, which one do I prioritize, right? When you were at Dune, or even now, because now what you are building is a B2B business. So there's like also different kind of considerations. But with that being said, shall we go towards the article?
Yeah, sounds good.
Anyways, so you said, and then I want to ask Alvin the same question. Alvin, who do you align with the most for the ecosystem?
Like the most in each ecosystem, or
the culture, like for your personality, Solana or ETH?
I undoubtedly love Ethereum the most because I'm also a ETH maxi, and also the friends I met or the developers I met in Ethereum ecosystem. I think the culture and the personality is way different from the others I met in Solana ecosystem. And actually, there are not so many like Bitcoin related developers and players in Asia, or maybe they are tend to be way more low key. They not tend to like pop out in many communities to be active or something. Yes, so as I jump into the crypto space, I play DeFi with my friends. We start from Ethereum, so that's the main reason I love Ethereum the most. Maybe yeah, but I also have many friends in Solana ecosystems, and I think uh, culture about Solana may be more vibrant and like and for Ethereum ecosystem, I think just like the culture that Andrew mentioned, more cooperative, work together, and open source culture. I think that's the reason I love Ethereum more compared to other ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay, sounds
And
good.
actually, I follow Andrew for quite a long time previously because I love like many Dune wizards making dashboards about different protocols very much. Yeah.
Oh, Andrew, follow Alvin back. He's your
I did. I just did. I literally just followed.
Yeah. Actually, the dashboard I love the most on Dune called like cash cows, DeFi cash cows. It breaks down all the like the important metrics of different top DeFi protocols we need to know, like are they Morpho or Pando, any other things. I sometimes take advantage of all these metrics to introduce more DeFi knowledge with the Chinese communities because I think Chinese users are not so familiar with all these data things compared to Western communities and players. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think it's
yeah,
very important to do all these things. Yeah. Especially in
yeah,
Chinese market.
yeah. Let's stay data driven. Let's stay truth driven, and we need the most unbiased data without noise. So let's start with
Yep.
on-chain data, and let's dive in. Andrew, are you ready?
Yeah, we'll keep this
Yeah.
as fun as possible.
Are you saying the way I'm saying it is not fun? It's fun.
No, it's more of a reminder to myself. I think I think it's easy for me to go into some concepts which are like
Yeah.
don't really care
I
that
would
much about.
disrupt you. I would disrupt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, pull up your article and let's go through everything.
Yeah. How do I share my?
You can share a screen, and then I will add your screen to basically whatever we're showing. Yes,
Is it sharing?
yes, you are sharing. Okay.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, it was a simple article just because I see so many people arguing about tokens, and like all people really talk about like are either tokens or protocol. But I don't think many people have thought about like how one token becomes another token through a bunch of protocols, right? And like the main reason I wrote this article was just like, hey, when you're looking at a token, it's never like you're never looking at a token on its own, right? Even if it's like USDE, which is like the Athena stablecoin. If you analyze USDE, you have to take into account staked USDE, and you have to take into account the Pendle loops that break it down into the primary and yield tokens. And then also you should take into account the vault tokens, where the vaults are basically just holding a bunch of these other tokens. Like that all goes into what USDE is. And I think a lot of people in the ecosystem kind of get stuck looking at just the token and like the token price and like the holders or like basic like TA metrics like that without considering like what the rest of the ecosystem is dependent on, right? So I call these like tokens versus like wrapper tokens. And the very simple idea is you put a token into a pool, and that pool will give you a wrapper token back, because then you can take that wrapper token, put it back in the pool to get your original token back. All right, that's the most technical I'll get, but essentially that is the lifeblood of DeFi. and like
Mhm.
basically always has been. And a lot of the yield and the risks come from when you're now looping these wrapped tokens, basically meaning you take a wrapped token from Athena and put it into Aave and then put that into a Morphovault or something, right? That's kind of now where you have layered risk. There's a lot of different kinds of risks and a lot of different kinds of pools that I talked through in this article, which I'm not going to talk through right now in terms of
Yeah,
all the
don't.
different kinds of pools, but I highly recommend you read it because I think a lot of people think about like, oh, Aave is very, very different from like Uniswap, right? In like some ways it is in terms of like what the protocol is doing, but in terms of like how pools work and how tokens work, they really aren't that different. And I think that's like something that people need to get clear in their heads when they're thinking through crypto.
Mm, mm, mm,
Because a lot of these protocols are more similar than people think.
Yeah, I think
Now,
to clarify, like why people want to wrap those tokens is
mhm,
essentially they want to either use the wrapped version, which is the recipient token, on like a new like
yep,
reutilize it to lend it out or supply it into some liquidity pool for extra capital efficiency to
yep,
essentially earning more returns on the token. But then that also add another layer of the risk because once you wrap a token, then you kind of need to maintain like a pricing between the wrapped token and the underlying token, and you really need to figure out like how the pricing is designed. Is it like hard coded tagged, or is it like determined
yep.
by a specific liquidity pool? Like that has very very nuanced difference for each of the wraps.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, each time you wrap the token, you're basically wrapping more yield in, right, in the form of either like usage fees or token incentives. But as you wrap more yield in, you're wrapping the risks in as well. And those risks are highly variable and not always related to just like, can Athena keep its peg?
Correct. Yep.
So I think that gets into like probably one of the most useful things to think about today based off of the Twitter conversations is just like the highest risk is still liquidity risk, right? Like, because crypto doesn't really have a concept of credit risk in terms of if someone doesn't pay back their loan, right? It's not like, you or I taking out a mortgage where we're not putting like collateral down that's worth more than our mortgage to take out the mortgage, right?
Yep. Yep.
In some
Right.
sense, they're thinking of it as like, oh yeah, if you don't pay the mortgage, then we'll foreclose your house and like sell that for at least the amount of the loan. But in crypto, whenever you take out a loan, you're always putting up at least like 150% or 130% of the loan's value, right? This is the loan to value.
Nobody has figured out under collateralized lending yet. Not even
Yes,
Maple. They are relying on like a B2B way. Okay, guys, I'm just saying this. Continue.
Yeah. So it's basically you don't have credit risk. Even though people say you have bad debt, that bad debt is not the same as what we would call bad debt outside of crypto. And this is like,
but there's a project very interesting. Do you know 3Jane?
yes, I've seen 3Jane. Yes. Yeah.
So they are connecting. They are a project on Base, and they are connecting like Web2 credit data plus like Web3 data. I
Yep.
don't know if they have the B2B relationship with credit union. Say, oh, if you have a bad debt with your wallet associated in Web3, then I'm gonna also hurt your credit score in Web2 because that will have an impact when you have a bad like credit score in United States. You cannot get a loan. If you cannot get a loan, you cannot purchase house. It's very hard for you to purchase car. You cannot even get credit card. So it actually impacts your daily life. But to be honest, in Asia, right, I think at least 5 years or 10 years ago, credit card is not like a very, very widely adopted thing in China.
There aren't even credit scores, are there? Do you have credit scores?
Now? I don't know. I mean, I think
4 or 5 years ago, I do not think there were credit scores. Like not in the same way that the US has like FICO scores.
True. Yeah, it's not that widely adopted. Like they will give you credit line, or they don't give you a credit line because you have a lot of money or a lot of assets. Then they just have the credit card and tell you, oh, how much you can spend.
Yeah.
So it's a, I would say, like, in general, people's concept is very different, and
Yeah.
how the credit gonna impact your daily life.
Yeah.
In China, like 5 or 10 years ago, I would say everything is almost all cash, and people gonna even pressure you, say, "Oh, why are you taking out a credit loan? Like, why are you not paying full cash?" Because they, like,
Yeah.
people were very
It's
concerned in that way.
East Asia is like a very cash savings based society versus like
Yeah,
the West is like a credit. Yeah, there's a lot of really good Federal Reserve articles. This is a random thing, but Alan Greenspan wrote a really good one in 2006 on like how the savings rate in China and Korea are gonna like basically harm a bunch of markets because they're buying up all like US treasuries and stuff, and actually led to the financial crisis. Anyways, there's some
yeah,
interesting stuff there about how China's
yeah,
and Korea's savings rate, it's like sometimes like 60% plus is like how much they save. And the
yeah,
US
yeah.
is like like 5%, 10%.
Yeah. No, US is always overspending, 月光族.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm bringing this up is more like why we are talking about, why credit score matters, and then
Yeah.
why it's not a truly established concept, or
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
bounded by technology 100% in crypto yet, and so why so many people are trying to solve it.
Yeah. That's a
But
good
before that, like, Alvin, how is the credit, like, card or credit score in Taiwan? Do you guys like use credit card a lot?
Yeah, actually, like I think many crypto players and people who care like credit scores within the credit card system are overlap within these years. I think many smart guys will try to like leverage this kind of score to swap to exchange some like mm, like free tickets, free flight tickets or free hotel like opportunities or something. Yeah.
Mm.
So
You're
people
talking
do
about the
care
royalty
this kind of
points.
thing. Yeah,
Oh,
people
I
do
see.
care this kind of thing when people they tend to calculate all the point system within like bank or like different credit cards. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I noticed something. Okay, this is a huge distraction, but I think, like, it's worth discussing because it's an interesting topic, and things like we almost have like three different persons here. Like, I grew up in China, Alvin grew up in Taiwan, and then Andrew grew up in the US. So we can talk about this credit thing a little bit. So last month I was traveling in Taiwan, and I saw, like, outside of the convenience store there was this huge promotion of the cards. And like, for me, I'm very sensitive to those things because this is like kind of part of my business, right, as well.
Hmm.
And I was looking at what the cars are offering. So they offer absolutely like crashing turns. They're like 10% on your spending on this like specific convenience store chain. So in Asia, you have like 7-Eleven, you have Quanjia, you have like different things. And they basically say if you open card at this convenience store, and you, for the next 3 months, if you spend this amount, you're gonna get 10% cash back. I'm like, I've never seen a credit card you get 10% cash back. Like, there's no like Web2 credit card, Visa, Master, or even Web3 like cashback card can match that. So it's quite of an interesting observation. Okay, I'm done with this topic. Andrew, let's go back to why under collateralized lending doesn't exist. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah. Credit's always very interesting. And yeah, I mean, 3J is just the latest to try it. It's not like they're the first in crypto.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
also want to talk 3J as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you go. Yeah, you go for it. I was just gonna.
Go ahead.
Talk credit.
No. I know that many like DeFi smart players are also discussing the innovation brought by 3J. Yeah, because the system is totally different from the lending platform we know previously in DeFi space.
But the problem, like, for credit bureau, right? I actually talked to a couple of experts because again, this is part of my business. So it's very, very regionalized. Let's say if you want the credit score in New York, then you need to persuade, or you need to work with the credit bureau in New York. If you want to work with, say, Miami, or you work with CA, then it's a different thing. So this is a really, I would say, compliance heavy business in a sense. And And I don't know like how much data they're sharing across the different systems. But for this system to fully being utilized by different B2B business, I do foresee there will be a longer term to go, especially like this it's not only the credit bureau, but also you need to take into consideration the data privacy. And then like when you like the first gathering the data is one thing, right? Then you also have what is it called, like the Europe privacy act, whatever. So you cannot literally you cannot you utilize like the data on the personal level. You cannot associate UID with each individual or household. So I will say like every single act of those things will be very, very regionalized in a way. And this is exactly what we are seeing for what's going on in the world. Like definitely like think about Kaushi, right? Why they are they are primarily focusing on US market. And then there will be like decentralized protocols. They can do the global stuffs, but they barely make movement with a couple of like local governments, because like whatever energy or time you spend on, you will get the results. So I think for those like data privacy sensitive stuffs, credit score sensitive, it will always the relationship will always be owned by the local incumbents as well as conglomerates. And then for Web3 to break in, the only channel you can is to actually either you already dominate the local market or you have the local license there to work on that business. And I mean personally, I don't foresee like in the next 1 to 2 years there's any unified solutions. It's just very similar to like off ramping business. Unfortunately, though, all of those businesses will be segmented by the regions 100%.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because I
Continue.
was yeah, I was working because I worked at Spectral way back in the day when they were actually working on credits, on-chain credit scores. It was like 2021, and I remember it was like Spectral, and then there was another teller that tried to do like a Plaid integration to your bank to basically do this. I feel like those all died off. Like retail never took off. B2B took off with Syrup. Syrup, I think, is like Maple Finance is the main one that does like
Yep.
B2B loans of like between
Yep.
Maple and Centrifuge. They are able to create pools on chain where then the actual like borrowing is only happening off chain, right? Like you can't borrow. I don't think you can borrow from a Maple pool on chain the same way that you would on like Aave, which is why Syrup is able to hit like much higher yields than just stuff that's like a pure on chain utilization rate play.
Yeah.
But I would say like for anyone looking into vaults, just to steer us out of just credit, it's
Yeah.
main risk people need to understand is liquidity risk. I think liquidity risk has always been like not well understood, because like if you just think about like bank runs, where in like the 40s or like the Great Depression, people would be like, oh, they think this bank is gonna like go down and not be able to pay their like credit or whatnot. And ultimately, a lot of people do a run on the bank, which is just everyone trying to withdraw at the same time from the bank. And then the bank won't be able to satisfy all those withdrawals like right away. It's not doesn't mean that the bank is in default. The bank has the money, just some of it's loaned out, right? And in the traditional financial system, you have like the Federal Reserve, who's always willing to basically step in if a bank needs more immediate funds.
To bail out the bank, yes.
So I mean, it doesn't have to be a bailout per se, because the Federal Reserve has like a deposit window which certain banks can access. But if a bank accesses it, everyone can see. It's like a public ledger, so it's not like a normal repo where like normal people can't see it. If a bank goes to the Federal Reserve deposit window, we can see on the Federal Reserve site that they're going to do that. But that at least provides customers of that bank more like confidence that even if people are talking about a bank run, the bank can always go and get more money to satisfy the withdrawals, as long as they're solvent, of course, from the Federal Reserve, right? But you don't have this in crypto, right? So you see this in crypto where certain lending pools and now vaults, people are being like, oh, it's illiquid. And it's hard because it's like people are discussing that at the same time as like when a stablecoin depegs. And then everyone's kind of talking about like, this feels like credit risk. They're not able to pay their users out. And it's like, no, it's not credit risk. This is liquidity risk.
Yeah.
So I think it's when I have people ask me about the data, even back then and definitely now in the last week or two, it's a lot of it's just like, how do you analyze the liquidity risk of a pool and a vault?
Mm.
The simple
Let's
answer,
do it.
yeah,
Let's
the
do it.
simple answer is like,
Let's do it.
it's not a lending pool.
Yeah.
We don't even really need, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's quickly do it. I think it's very, very quick to demonstrate the user real time.
Yeah.
All of those information, fortunately, is already available on each of the website. You just need to dig
Yes.
deeper. Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah, I think
this
people need
yeah.
to learn from this, especially
Yeah,
DeFi
yeah.
users.
This is where it gets hard, because I think there's a few things that have gotten confusing about UIs. Is like vaults and markets have kind of gotten mixed together in
Correct.
some sense, where I think some people, when they're depositing into a vault, think they're depositing into a market. And markets are also all highly variable, right? So you have a basic idea. We can start with like the simple ones. I think Aave probably is the
So
simplest.
yeah, do Aave. Yeah, Aave is the simplest. And then we go to Morpho, and then
Um,
maybe we can talk about the Morpho V2 a little bit.
Yes, yeah, we will. We will. I'll work up to it. So if I take a simple
Perfect.
market like USDC, there's always an amount that's supplied and an amount that's borrowed, right? And you can ignore the of 30 million. There's 7.82 million supplied here on this prime market, 6.61 borrowed, right? So that means if I've deposited into this USDC reserve, there's a total of, where'd the number go? There's a total of 1.21 million that's liquid, right? So only 1.21 million can be withdrawn, because you can't force these
People
borrowers
to
to repay, right?
repay.
But the idea is,
unless you push up the interest rate.
right. So, so then this gets into the interest problem. So when you withdraw, let's say 1 million was withdrawn, the utilization rate, which is your borrows divided by your supplies, is going to affect what the actual interest rate is, right? And that's this interest rate model you'll see on every protocol has this like normal slope and then this increased slope that goes around this kink, which a kink is just basically when the slope changes. And so if we're currently here at 5%, if we withdrew 1 million from it, then the utilization would go to like, was it 6.82, which is like 96%. So then the interest rate hops to 25%. And so this is meant to drive people who have borrowed to then repay. But there's no way of like basically forcing them to repay unless their LTV basically now goes over. But well, we won't talk about liquidations just yet. But anyways, if you're a supplier into this market, there's basically no way for you to exit if there's not enough liquidity, right? And so this is different from a normal money market. A lot of people in crypto like to call like Aave or Morpho or Compound like money markets in a TradFi sense, but money markets are actually like regulated to remain at least like 30% liquid in terms of like the assets they hold. Like I think I put some tweet out about this.
This is the 15%, right? Yeah, around 15%.
Yeah, around 15%.
15.
But like
15.
Yeah. Yes. So like normally money market funds, like they also let you deposit US dollars in and like earn a small yield on it. But there is like a liquidity requirement on the maturities of the debt the borrows across that money market. And so a lot of it, like 20%, has to be overnight. All right. So a lot of the most popular debt instrument in traditional finance is a repo or repurchase agreement, which basically says, hey, I'm going to borrow money for one night, literally 24 hours. And so that is going to mean that you're always going to have this like very liquid part of a fund versus on like Aave or Morpho or any of these like lending protocols. There's no concept of maturity. There's only interest. So it makes it really, really hard to manage liquidity risk. Yes.
Yeah. But I think like the way they set up the kink or the LTV ratio or how it impacts the interest rate kind of impacts like the liquidity a little bit, right?
Yes, yes. So every token that's added, and this is why like lending pools are different from liquidity pools. Like anyone can add 2 tokens to a new liquidity pool because it doesn't affect other liquidity pools. But for lending markets, every token you add adds potential risks to all the other tokens that are in the lending pool.
Yeah, but also depends on whether you are talking about the universal lending pool or the isolated one, because Morpho have the isolated lending pools and Aave is like the universal. That's why like I
Yes.
think that's why Aave is more strict in terms of like token listing as well as like collateral approving, because
Yes,
those are
that's
also
correct.
2 different things, like whether you can use that token as a collateral or not.
Yes, yeah. So that's a very good point. And yeah, so like for Morpho, if you want to borrow USDC against
Against
your Coinbase Bitcoin,
Coinbase, yeah.
that's a specific market, right? On Aave, it would be just like, hey, as long as you've deposited Coinbase Bitcoin, CBBTC, you could go and borrow like any of these almost. And that's normally set by tokens. So like staked USDE has certain things that basically are set so it's like can be used as collateral or not.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of risk management here, but that is like one level of liquidity. And now where things have gotten really complex is vaults have a separate level of liquidity, right? So
Yes.
the liquidity of a
Yeah.
vault is not just dependent on the liquidity of the underlying markets.
Collateral. Yes. There's also the token part. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
Yes, yes. So now you have these markets which have a base level of liquidity based off of borrow and supply utilization. The formula is very simple. But for vaults take your like USDC and allocate them across markets. And right now, this has an idle liquidity of 0, meaning that it's fully allocated. And so now when you go to withdraw, there are basically like caps on what can or can't be moved from certain markets. And that's controlled by the vault operator. And that's also different for every single vault implementation. The way that a Morpho vault works is different from how like a Yearn vault might work or like an Euler swap vault might work. They have different logic around what can and can't be withdrawn depending on the underlying markets. And so you can end up with a scenario where the vault operator says, hey, we're not going to let any of these allocations, go lower. Or like you can't withdraw out of this vault because it's hit its like the underlying market has hit its like supply limit or borrow limit basically. And so then the vault can't withdraw from this market, which is why you can't withdraw from the vault. And even if you want to get just this position out, you aren't able to. That's stuck in the vault. And so that was actually a big point of contention over the last week. Is there are a bunch of vaults on Morpho and elsewhere where the users couldn't even get out of this base vault. They had to wait for the allocation to change so that and they would keep checking the chain every like few seconds to be like, okay, is there more idle liquidity? Can I go and withdraw?
Yeah. And I think what makes the contagion even worse is the allocation is kind of cross-correlated. So like different wraps can also allocate into the same vault. And then if like the one of the underlying vault they allocated to has like, let's say a depacking problem, then it's like wraps or layers of liquidity issues that's layered on top of that. So basically you are taking leveraged position on the same depacked assets. That's why like it's so hard for you to get the money back. And I think like for us, when we choose the different DeFi yields and different DeFi vaults, we will check what's the underlying allocation and make sure it's not correlated or it doesn't have the overlap, because you don't want to take unintentional not double risk but overlapped position in that sense, right? If we want to allocate 5%, we want to allocate exactly 5%. We don't want to say, oh, because we allocate 5% in this vault and then 80% of this 5% is also allocated into the same thing, then that defeats the purpose of diversification. But I think like when individual users, when they try to do the diversification by themselves, they sometimes make this mistake.
Yeah, and it's hard to manage because like the vaults, like they could change what markets they have exposure to at any time. There's a time lock with it, which is like if the curator decides to add a new market, it can be like 7 days before it actually happens. And there's a lot of nuance there, but like the vaults can change what markets that they allocate to. The markets themselves, if it's like Aave, can change what collateral is allowed. And it's like, it's not like you're getting a notification every time this happens.
No, yeah,
can be very hard across like 5 or 6 protocols of like, did the vault change? Did the market change? Did a market collateral change? So
but
there's a lot
they
of
need
layers
to
there.
go through a voting. But I think like
Well, yes, they have to go through voting, but I mean more just like it's not like a your Chase. It's not like when you're using Chase, you get a notification when something happens to to your
true.
bank account.
Yeah.
It's like it happens. You have to know where to look, otherwise you're not gonna be able to track
You're
this.
fucked. Yeah,
Exactly.
I think like what will be useful will be also aggregating all those information. I already have like users who made the request, say, oh, can you guys actually publish your internal dashboard where you track like different information about the files? I was
Right.
like, we can do that. And I think Andrew, this is what I want to talk about you this afternoon. Like we should work on this initiative together. Like
Yeah. There's a lot of fun ones.
Awesome.
Because there's a lot of ways of tying the data, but there's a hard part is like the protocols are also getting more complex. So like something that came out yesterday was Morpho Vaults V2. So if I go to Vaults now, I can toggle V2 and see here that this is a V2 vault where the vault actually allocates to a vault. And not only does Morpho V2 vaults allow you to like kind of use any underlying adapter that you want, like you can connect to any contract, you could put money into Balancer through a Morpho Vault V2 now, but they have a new function, and this is what I covered yesterday in my little thread up here.
Oh really? Let me see.
Yeah, I did a short 9-minute video. I was looking at this. I look tired because it's like, actually, it wasn't that late. It was like 4
No
p.m.
explanation. You don't have any girlfriend fans. It's okay.
But there's a new function called force deallocate. I think I might have spelled it wrong. But essentially what it allows you to do is even if there's no liquidity, let's say if we're looking at this guy, like let's say there's no liquidity and you just wanted to withdraw this position so you could manage this position yourself and didn't want to wait for the vault manager to like allocate, you can now force exit and redeem the underlying shares, right? So you can always exit the vault and get whatever the positions underlying are. The market still might be illiquid, but now you can manage that market position yourself instead of trying to wait to see how the vault is managing that position, so that you have to manage both the vault and the market, right? And so this is a new feature that I think is very topical and probably will become standard to most vaults, is just a way of exiting the vault without needing to exit in specifically the token that you deposited. So it's a little confusing. Yeah.
Does it suffer from like slippage or what is it? Is it like the vault manager need to enable this function, right? Because otherwise,
so it's always enabled. Because all you're withdrawing is literally this position itself. You're not swapping it to USDC. It will literally just give you out this position. And so there is redemption. There's like a redemption fee. Where like the vault curator can set a fee of like, hey, like we don't want users to force deallocate because obviously that makes allocations harder. And so some teams set like a 0.5%, like a 0.05% fee or something to have people not do this. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future of like, because this can be changed basically anytime. So maybe there's going to be some user versus curator PvP where the curator is like, this adapter is more dangerous. We're going to set the fee to be higher so that we have more control over, or like, projections over how that vault position is managed.
Mm,
So
this is very cool, actually. Okay.
yeah, so it's
need to
interesting.
look into
It's kind of like it's giving users more control over the vault.
yeah.
And also vault with the adapters, it's basically like Uniswap v4 hooks, where it's like an adapter is basically just a hook onto a vault, right? And I think most protocols are trending this way, where I don't think it matters if it's a multi-sig, or like if it's governance, if it's swapping liquidity pools, if it's lending pools. They're all letting you add modifications or hooks or plugins or adapters, whatever you want to call it, or anyone can write arbitrary code to extend the vault.
How big
Which
is Morphoting now? I'm worried about their their engineers.
you're worried about their engineers?
Mental health, because I'm just thinking about, okay, you need to modularize all the shares
Yes,
and everything,
so-
and then you literally need to adapt to so many different underlying protocols, and if you open up this to any like DeFi protocols, then every day you are dealing with the hooks and then all
Yes.
those like APIs coming from different DeFi protocols. I'm just
Yep.
worried about that. Yeah.
That's the fun problem. That's one reason why I started Herd, is because it
Yeah.
became very clear, like, this modularity, there's no way one team is going to keep up with it. It
Yeah,
needs to
it's
kind
hard.
of be like Dune style, where like the
Mm.
execution logic is there's just shared libraries that anyone can find.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's what we're working on. But yeah, it
Mhm.
is hard because like now you might have some really good like yield logic or liquidity logic of like, I finally know how to calculate the liquidity across all these pools, but that liquidity does not look the way you think it does, because that liquidity function now has to take into consideration users that can force deallocate. It has to take into consideration like potential slippage on adapters if a vault is deploying into a Uniswap pool, for example. There might be slippage there when redeeming back. And so like all these calculations is kind of why you don't really see this on Twitter, but like all of the Uniswap v4 pools and the providers of like prices on top, whether that's 0x, Relay, or anyone else, will complain that like hooks make it very hard to accurately price, because it's no longer just quoting on the curve, like the XYK or like the TIX curve of like, yes, this amount in means this amount out. You actually have to basically run the transaction to go and get what the actual amount out is, because there might be a hook in there that says, hey, actually, if the price goes below here, we're going to add liquidity so it goes back up, right? So then all the quotes are wrong.
And also
prices.
the quotes also have like a time limit, so it will only be valid for like 10 seconds. Or
yes,
5
yeah,
seconds.
and you have to do that very fast, because users want quotes. Like users aren't willing to wait like 5 seconds for a quote. They want a quote now. So then there's a lot of debate about like, okay, some teams are like, fuck it, we'll give a quote that just looks better than our competitors. And then like you can kind of get away with it more in the DEX space, because if people swap tokens and it's slightly off, it's not like it's not like a large amount of risk.
Unfortunately, I've dealt with all of those problems. For my,
I'm sure you have. Yeah.
My last business is dealing with all
okay.
quotes
Yes.
from,
Yeah. Quotes are fucking hard.
From different market makers and from like the AMM pools and the
yes. Oh, we lost her. She crashed out.
Oh,
she couldn't take all the quotes.
Mena is lost. Let me ask her.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Wi-Fi issue or something. Oh, she's coming back.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello.
Sorry. I was too excited about talking about
right?
past business of like, comparing the different quotes. But I mean, I think you just like addressed the most fundamental problem. It's like I think a lot of people, they will think, oh, it's easy to compare the quotes, or like aggregating liquidity. It's just like showing one dashboard.
Dude, aggregating data in crypto is so hard. Like,
yeah.
I can say like I've worked at big banks before, and like even doing good liquidity analysis out of balance sheet in a bank when you have full control of the data is already very hard. Doing it when you don't have control over like, someone can change how the accounting standard works. It's like, like good fucking luck.
I did that for the banks too. Yeah. So I think like what you're doing is really, really important in the crypto space. But I think like it will be cool if we can say open source, or at least like create some simplified tools where users can really like easily track the exit liquidity of different
Yeah.
pools, right? Because essentially what users really need to know, the number one metric is not about the TVL. It's actually about like how quickly you can exit your position when
Yes. Yeah.
shit happens,
Liquidity
right?
risks. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard.
that's
It's
what we
very
need to
hard because it's like
Yeah.
you need, because as soon as you kind of vaults that deposit into vaults, it's kind of like, well, you have to be able to calculate the liquidity of the vault to get the liquidity of the vault. But if the vaults are tied, it's always a circular problem.
Yes.
And like the way redemptions work is it's like it's as confusing as like liquidations, because you have to think about
Agree.
liquidations as well. And liquidations now becomes even harder for people to think about. Like that's a whole part of the equation we haven't even talked about, but like plays a big role in all of these like markets, is like the big, anyways, it's the rabbit hole is deep. It's very complex. It's not a problem we're going to solve in like
in 6
in
months
like
or 12 months.
6 months or even a 12 months. But like more and more institutions are coming in, and like I see big players like S&P or BlackRock like talking about this all the time, but it's just like we're not ready. So,
I feel like if we can really like create a standard for this and then really open source to every single protocol and kind of force different DeFi protocols to utilize those standards, then that's like how we move the industry forward. Because what I really hate is, because this industry is still immature, so a lot of people, they have this attitude, especially like builders or KOLs, they will be like, oh, I can do whatever the fuck I want, right?
Yeah.
People have very limited memory. I think that's the worst attitude. And I don't understand why people are tolerating that on the timeline, or people are even like permissioning this kind of behavior. Like now you remember like the balancer explorer just happened like 2 weeks ago, and then you'll have the Euler explorer, right? You also have the hyper stuffs, and people already forgot about it. Like I don't see anything on the timeline, and then people
short-term memory. Yeah.
like dude, I mean, I talk about this on my Twitter all the time. Like we should always remember, like whoever like just never give you transparency.
There's no money to be made in being considerate to users.
I know.
Because I did the same thing when I was at Dune. We thought a lot about like trying to enforce data standards, and one thing we realized is like the data comes after execution. You can make people standardize execution if you want people to interact with your protocol, but like data standards, these devs, like they just don't like. I don't even say that it's not like, I don't want to say they don't give a shit. It's just they have so much other things they're worried about that like the data standards is the last thing they think of.
Agree. Yeah.
So it's hard. It's like it's very different. It's very different from like TradFi and whatnot, where like you could have a consortium come up with a standard and like make it like a law, basically. But in crypto, it's like, yeah, no, they're just like move over. We're building future of France here.
So that's why I'm saying, like, if you see any red flags in terms of the protocol founder who doesn't give you transparency, then definitely stop using it.
You should always, yep.
Yeah, like for us as well, right? There are a couple protocols we will never use them. I'm telling you.
Yeah, all right, we'll talk about this later.
We'll talk about this later. Like whenever people mention that protocol name, I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm like even though I never say this in public, but in our internal meeting, we're like,
yes,
we know,
there's a lot.
Never.
I mean, that's the other hard part. It's like most users aren't online enough to tell. They're just like, they go to an app and like they're not like, most users are not going to be on like fucking crypto Twitter listening to warnings. Like
that's why building Sprite is so important. Because
I agree.
Yeah, we want to hold everybody's like accountable, right? We want everybody to make sure they're doing the right things. We check their past history. We check like what they are doing right now, right? And we say no to everything that potentially gives us a red flag.
Yeah, it's hard because then they're also still going to be like, oh, but why do I see this yield at like 13% on Twitter or something? And then it's like,
I have those users all the time. And I will tell them, hey, maybe 1 year later or 2 years later, you come back. Like just deposit
it's hard.
Compare.
Yeah.
I think like it fundamentally it's a psychology problem, right? How do you build the trust with the users so that they will
Yeah.
trust you over the long term. I don't think like this is a business that you're gonna build overnight or over the next 6 or 12 months. But I think
Yeah.
as long as we present the actual comparison of the results, like from 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, people are gonna know because we
Yeah.
see so many big giant conglomerates already failed in the past, and it's
Yeah.
all because of they have like abused.
I
Like,
mean, it's
client
yeah,
funds.
humans don't change.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
but I
hard.
think, but as like the three of us here, we are all very data driven, and
Yes,
we actually are all very optimistic in a very romantic way. So I actually believe
Yeah.
like data could change the world.
I know. I mean, I obviously I believe it.
Yeah,
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Right? Like the
it's
three
hard.
of I'm telling you, I 100% believe like data could change the world, but this is based
Yeah.
on the assumption that the data you can verify. Okay, it's
Yes.
not biased. It's like collected properly. It's
So,
not
yeah.
manipulated by other people.
Yeah.
That's why we believe in blockchain with data.
Yes, yeah, that's also one reason why, like, because
So true.
obviously I've thought about this a lot, but it's like
Mm.
one reason that we started Herd was like, if we want data standards, the data has to be tied to execution. All right, so we
Yep.
have like, here's how you execute this, like deposit it into this vault, and here's all the data you can read about it. And like enforcing a standard in terms of like anyone who goes and executes is now used to having the data right there. Because I think part of the loss we have with data standards today is like, you maybe go to DeFi Llama or Dune and you see some yield, but then when you go to want to enter that yield, you have to go somewhere else. You have to go to a bunch of other apps.
Yeah.
And so the data is currently very far from the execution. And so one thing we're working on Herd is like, if we can bring those two much closer together and like basically start making data standards that tie into specific functions, I think maybe there's a way. That's how I'm trying to push it. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's like, yeah, we're all trying to just have, it's like, it's even less so, like, I think about it less now as like, how do you get the protocols to adopt the standard, but more about like, how do I force a user to see this data? You know?
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, Andrew, we should work on that together.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah,
a highly requested feature from like Sprout user.
Yes.
And I do believe like once there are 1 or 2 parties start to make the movement, and when we make sure, we distribute the information properly on crypto Twitter, on YouTube, whatever distribution channel we have, people see the difference, and then they can utilize that information to help them to make better decisions with more solid judgment as well as like fundamental truths. Then they will say, okay, actually, I want every single else product that I'm using to also be using that standard.
Agreed.
And I don't think like, us complaining, why nobody is doing that, gonna like move.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna move. Yeah, you have to build. I mean, that's the reason why we're building the company. Is it's like we're not just KOLs. Like KOLs
actually, that's also one of the pain points because we need to cover like many different protocols every week for our DeFi newsletter. We need to check all the data, no matter TVL or the most TVL changes every week, or even yields. Check because we need to provide information, this kind of information for our audience. So I think we really need this kind of like new standard, no matter for the yield or any other things we need to check for different protocols, so that we can provide more transparent information, or especially DeFi users need to know when they try to use different apps in the future. I think it's very, very important.
Yeah. So
we're fighting the good fight. We're trying. It's hard.
Actually, I do appreciate that.
We don't make money from it, but
yeah. Have you guys ever heard that Redstone also rolled out the new standard for DeFi risk assessment?
I saw that. Yes.
I did see that.
Yeah.
Seems they acquire a new team for this because it's a new project. It's a different project compared to what they have done previously, right? Because they did like our corpus news previously.
But again, I don't think this kind of initiative can be done by any single party, because we are all limited by our own engineering resource.
For sure.
With the help of AI. But I think like if like a couple of like parties can collaborate on this effort together, and really like push this heavily once we have something tangible for retail user or Asian users to use. This will start to shift the paradigm of the industry. Again, I'm very optimistic. I'm very like desperately romantically optimistic about data, about like humanity. So this is
Yep.
like my take, and I will just continue to push forward with that. And
Yep.
no, I think like maybe short term you don't see the monetary gain, but it's useful for me, for myself, right?
Yeah.
For small
No,
users.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, I think like money is always the byproduct that I'm building. Like while I'm building the company, it's like delivering a better product
Yep.
to myself, to my team,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
to the
100%.
friends around me
Yep.
and the users.
Yeah, that's the right
Okay.
way. I mean, yeah, that's why we're friends. I don't think we can be friends with people who like are building just for money. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good take.
yeah. All right.
True.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I think like we are 1 hour into this. We have a lot more to talk. And fortunately, I also gonna see Andrew this afternoon at my
You're gonna say
NYU.
unfortunately?
Fortunately, I gonna see Andrew again.
Freudian slip. If you don't want me to come, I don't have to come.
No, you are my honor guest. So I'm hosting an event at NYU this afternoon. It was with all my alumni as well as current students. I'm pushing the future of NYU data science in the meantime because I'm really, really passionate about data science, about like
Yep.
bringing, solid data and as well as analysis and helping people to action upon those data. Help improve their life better. This is my core mission of life. Okay, then so
Yep.
I will see Andrew this afternoon. But let's use the next like maybe 5 minutes to wrap up the live stream. And then is there anything you want to share? I think like we still want to tell I guess like what's the 3 steps when the users they want to say use a DeFi vault, right? What should they do?
That's really hard. I mean, it's so app dependent. I wish I could just share a Dune query for it.
Oh, we need to do a separate session for the Dune query. Like,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I really want to do this. Like, we will
Yeah.
write the query, and then we will show you real time, like how actually we analyze the on-chain data. Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I think like it's a lot to ask users to go and like look and understand these contracts. But like honestly, the only way that I feel comfortable understanding like the liquidity risk today is when I actually read through like what are all the functions of entering and exiting, and like doing that X number of times. Because it's not it's not always just deposit and redeem. There's stuff like liquidations. There's stuff like force allocations. There's force deallocate. There's actually reallocation functions. There's a lot of functions not exposed to the user in the app. So like if you're just navigating the app, you actually won't see 90% of this stuff. And so it's like I hate to be that guy to say like do your own research, but it's kind of like if you really want to understand the liquidity right now, it's like you have to understand all the functions that let tokens in.
I only trust the API and the smart contract. I don't like what I was discussing with Luna from Zalek yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So she was saying she only trusts the smart contract. Nothing else matters. She doesn't even read the docs. Which
yeah,
I agree.
I'm actually the same way. I always read the contracts. Like that's just. I mean, I built a whole product for reading contracts.
Yes.
Like I'll. This is my one last chill is on Herd. We have a human readable explorer. So like if I go to her.
Okay.
Like,
Let me add your screen to this. Okay.
Oh yes, yeah. So like if I go to this vault here, I can actually see like a summary of how this contract works. We wrote our own parser and LLM like summarizer for analyzing these contracts, and like for every function, there's like a human readable summary of exactly how this works. And for every transaction as well, everything's human readable, so you can understand exactly what's happening for every step. And I built this because I was like, I thought Ethercyan was, or someone else was going to go and do this, but no one did it. And like, there's so many times where it's like, we tell people to do the research, but like not many people can go and read code. And there's a lot of like users, even just like professionals in crypto, PMs, designers, like BD, sales, who like are talking about contracts all day, but have probably never read about a contract. And so that's who we built the initial
It's
Explorer
crazy.
for.
Yeah.
So anyways, if people have ever wanted to do more research on these contracts and actually read about them, you can use Herd to dive deeper. That's my that's
Yeah.
my shill on that.
Great. That's for technical
Great.
users, right? And then I will
Yeah.
show Sprout one more time. And I think like for whoever who doesn't want to do all the like due diligence by yourself or the negotiation, because I mean, obviously you cannot do the negotiation by yourself because this is all B2B, right? but for whoever like who wants more like a data-driven approach and also like more like risk pricing approach for allocating your yield, definitely use Sprout, right? Here, literally, you just drag your risk preference, right? Of course, I am here because I'm crypto. but as you drag the risk score, we actually allocate your positions into different DeFi yield protocols. And then, as I said before, we cross-check everything, right? We make sure the exact allocation is not overlapped because of its like underlying allocation. And then we also continuously to monitor the exit liquidity on chain all the time. So you don't need to be the person to say monitor or what's going on for each of the DeFi protocol. You don't need to be the person to go on DeFi and say, oh, actually Aave just changed their like voting. They just changed their score for the LTV, or they just changed something else, or oh, actually Morpho just launched V2. You can actually exit like force exit the one of the positions, right? We will do all the things for you. But again, I think like I also roll calling every single one to always hold Sprout accountable for the data transparency side, right? I know I still owe everyone the transparency dashboard as well as the so-called like the one I was talking with Andrew, like how do we evaluate all those different DeFi protocols and then like put key metrics on a dashboard. Those will all be live before we do like the open beta for Sprout. So it's coming. But again, thank you guys for tuning into this live stream today. I think like we really discussed a lot. We distracted a lot by talking about credit in different regions, but this is the beauty of this live stream. Is like definitely like me, Andrew, and Alvin. Like whenever we invite a guest on our pod, we make sure the guest is adding a unique perspective from his or her own, so that the three of us can actually contribute to the most comprehensive view of that specific subject matter. And when sometimes it's just me and Alvin, I hope like us being one in the US and one in Asia can also provide you a more diversified view of the market. And we do believe that by doing this long term, this is going to help the users to understand different subject matters and different markets in concrete, helpful way. And thank you guys for always being with us and being patient with us about like explaining different topics. We're gonna be creating our own group chat for Guardians Echo Zoom so that you guys can actually interact with me and Alvin real time in the Telegram group. And then Andrew, again, thank you for sharing so much. You're always creating quality content on Twitter, on your Substack. I will make sure to subscribe to your Substack, but I will only read your Substack on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon because it's all very long. And then I look forward to your speech today at my NYU.
Yeah, it'll be
and
fun.
then we should do
Oh,
live stream
nice.
more, like do real time do dashboard query for the user, so that like for more technical audience. But let's definitely schedule it sometime next week. I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, this
Same
was
here.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Any thoughts? Maybe share like a quick story, like if you picture Herd in 3 to 5 years, what do you want it to be?
Yeah, I mean the easy answer is like iOS shortcuts, but like for crypto, of like just everyone is sharing like, you know, like I'm assuming we're focused on DeFi now, but I do believe in like everything from like social governance, voting, gaming, like will become more part of crypto. and it'll just be very simple to just like pull up something on your phone and have like a widget, like IO shortcuts for being like, I want to like have a birthday event with this crowd fund. And it's just one click to set that up, right? So like every app we have today, whether it's Partiful, like Patreon, Farcaster, etc., it's just like whenever you want to spin up something crypto, it's just like one click. Like, oh, Herd already has an action or trail for that. Or they don't even think about Herd. It's just we're just integrated there, and like it's just like suggested for like one click for them to set something up and claim the funds or whatever from it. So I mean that's the dream. It's like a user experience dream more than it is a business dream per se. My VCs probably would want me to be like, oh yeah, we managed billions in volume from all institutions. That's something we're going after more now. But I think 5-10 years, it's just the UX has to be as simple as setting up an event. That's what crypto has to feel like.
I really like the word experience. I think this captures essentially every single product in this world. And I think I said this like a couple months ago, and many people have said this. It's like mobile phone will not be the tool that we will be using in 3 to 5 years. Yeah, I think whatever we will be using, no matter the glasses or we just like walking through the world, and then there will be
chip in our brain.
yeah. Like ultimately, it's a fundamental experience, right? How easy is a user to capture the specific value that he or she is looking for? Can be transmitted through this product. Then like that determines how much value or how much money I want to bet or put into that product. And then the three of us are all working our own way of improving the user experience through different directions, but we can merge our efforts together in such a positive, romantic, optimistic way. I'm foolish.
It'll be good.
Alvin, do you have anything else to add?
I think data is much more important than anything we can believe on Twitter or any other social channel. So I'm also bullish all these data-related products in the future because we can utilize not matter ourselves, but also more potential users from DeFi space or any other kinds of applications in the space. So maybe there will be another like TikTok moment for the DeFi or any other complicated applications in the future. Yeah, I think Herd will be the one.
Yes.
We're trying.
Yes, we will all be live streaming when that moment comes. Okay. Nice. Let's celebrate our data moment.
Yeah.
But thank you guys again. We're gonna end the live stream now, and thank you guys for all the support. Like, retweet, comment, anything. We will be much appreciative of that, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye bye.